What's up guys, welcome back to my channel, and today I am going to work with this new package from spatie called Laravel Webhook Server. It is a set of two packages. One is the webhook client and the second one is the webhook server. And today I'm going to go through this package with you guys. I'm doing it for the first time. Let's see how things work. First of all, let's understand the idea behind what this package is trying to do. So let's say we have certain applications which does something. For example, payment gateway like Stripe, right? You make a payment and then your application needs to know that, say, user XYZ has made a payment, and so accordingly your application needs to do certain things. Maybe he paid for a subscription, so you need to activate his subscription. Maybe you need to send him an email and many other things. So what Stripe will do is, once the payment is done, it will send a post request to a URL which you can define, and you will get certain kind of data from Stripe, a signature which they will give you, and then you can use that data to do whatever in your application. So similarly, with this package, I think what is happening is this Laravel webhook server is responsible for sending certain data from one application. So the series which I am working on, which is this code lab series, right? We will consider this application as the source of the webhook, right? We will want to send a webhook whenever a story is created, and I have one application running on port 8001, which is a clean Laravel installation. I have done nothing to it, and what we would like to do in this application is respond to that webhook, and for now we will just log out the data which is coming from the webhook, right? So how we are placed, my Visual Studio Code is running the code lab project, which is going to be our server. So I will go to the server package and I'll do a composer require here, terminal composer require. In the meantime, we will also do a composer require of the client package inside our second application, which is this. Okay, while they are being pulled from composer, I think this runs on queues. Okay, so we will also need to run that. My env for the code lab project says that my queues are right now running through Redis. Okay, you can have this through your sync method as well, SQS as well. It's up to you, but basically you need a queue, I think. Let's see. So my packages are pulled. So let's first configure the server. Okay, it says we need to publish the configuration file. Okay, do that. Webhook server.php. So queue is the default. My verb is post, which is fine. Signer, this is the class responsible for the signature that will be added to the header. Okay, this is something which is checked for security purpose. The signature header name, content type is application JSON. Timeouts, now you would want a certain duration on the client end, after which this post request should time out and say, okay, maybe there's some problem with the client and we will retry it again. So that's that. 3 is fine. The amount of time the webhook should be called, now this is the beauty of this package. I have gone through the documentation, and I think it's a very good approach where they will try it 3 times, and every attempt that you make, basically the first one will be made. If it fails, I think they do it after what, 10 seconds, and then um, yeah. So basically, if the receiving app doesn't respond with a response code starting 200, the package will retry the webhook after 10. Second attempt, the package will call the webhook um, a final time after 100. So basically, we are incrementing the time. And I mean, understanding that there must be some load or maybe something else going on in the client, and hence we need to delay the response, and we can increase it as much as we want. So this is a really good configuration. I haven't played around with verify SSL and tags, so I think this is basically for your Horizon and Telescope applications, which will be able to show you the data with these tags. So I'm not going to touch them right now. So the configuration I have pretty much kept as it is. We have webhook call. Why don't we copy this? And where do we want to call it? So let's see. My application has HTTP controllers, stories controller. This is my store. Now, ideally, I would like to have a handler, okay, in my application for the story create, and then I will dispatch the webhook. But for now, simplicity purpose, I will add it here. Okay, I need to call this. Class is imported. Yes, it is. So my application is running on localhost 8001, I think. Yes, and let us say what was the default URL here? Webhook receiving URL, right? We can make it anything actually, but let's stick with the documentation so that it is easy for you. Okay, so this is the URL. I can have anything in my payload. So my key will be story, and in the value I'll pass $story because we are already getting that, right? Okay. So if you haven't seen the previous videos, don't sweat it out. Basically what I'm doing is, this is a post request where I'm getting certain fields from my form. I'll just show you the form. This is my add story form, which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 fields. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. So I'm validating it, making a few changes, and then I'm creating a story. Okay. And that same object, we are sending it through the webhook. Okay. With a key called story. Okay. Now, use secret. This is something which will be used to sign your data, encrypt it, and then send it, and the client will be able to get that data by decrypting using the same key. So I think that is the security. Or I'm not completely sure if it is encrypting the entire payload, or is it just sending a secret to validate. That's something I need to check. I will get back to you on that, maybe on my blog post, but right now we'll have something like my secret key. Okay. However, quickly, let's go through the documentation and see how signing works. When setting up, it's common to generate, store, and share a secret between your app and the app that wants to receive webhooks. Generating the secret could be done with this, but it's entirely up to you. The default package will add a header called signature that will contain a signature the receiving app can use. The payload hasn't been tampered with. Okay. So I don't think it is signing your payload. It is generating a key, and it is sending that to the client, and the client will then get that signature from the header, and it will ensure that actually it is being sent from the webhook server and not someone else sending certain kinds of payload through their postman, which your app may not be actually looking for. So that's what it is, I'm guessing. I'll read up a bit on that and confirm that. However, the documentation does suggest that. So moving ahead, I have created this. So this should be fine. I'll need to run my queue as well. PHP artisan queue listen. Okay, I'll run that in a bit. In the meantime, why don't we handle our client application, right? So our client, we have done this. We need to publish the configuration files. Okay, I have done that. Let's quickly see what is in the migration. So it creates name, payload, exception. Okay, fine. I think then we need a database. I will not create a MySQL file, but I will rather have uh, database .sqlite, and in my env file I will configure it as SQLite. Reload the application as my env has changed, and okay. So configs webhook client. It says that we expect every webhook call will be signed with a secret, so we need to define it. I'll go to my env file again. This is equal to what? My secret key. So I'll push it here. Okay. Going ahead, signature. It says process webhook job. So I guess we need to tell the application which class is going to handle it. So why don't we, inside our application, have a handler folder and webhook handler.php, and it needs to extend the process webhook job class. So um, what happened? Process webhook implements should queue, so that's how it is coming from the queue. Fine, we need a handle method, I guess. So PHP. First, I will add the namespace. App handler. Class is webhook handler. Needs to extend this. Okay, and so we have the handle method as well, right? Logger, I was here, and I think because this is the public variable, this should be available here. So logger $this, we'll get it working here. And so let's quickly see what we have done. On the store function, I am making this webhook call. I have webhook receiving URL, which we haven't configured here. We need to do that. Web.php. Let's see what the client documentation says. Taking care of routing. So this is something which I need to add. I will do that. Okay, and sorry. In here, this is my URL, webhook receiving URL. And on the client end, it is webhook receiving URL. Now this is fine. However, I read that, yes, so it's a post call, which will mean that it will expect a CSRF token. But obviously we can't generate a CSRF token. So what we need to do is go inside our HTTP middleware verify CSRF token middleware, and URIs that should be excluding from CSRF validation. So we'll add this URL here. Okay, we are explicitly saying that for this particular URL, this middleware will not run. Okay, so this is done. And anything else? I guess no, we should try it out now. Okay, this is all just fine, so fair enough. I'll go to my application, hit refresh, one new entry, simple entry, bug. Okay, I think it's not the web server which will need the queue. I think it will be the client. Let us see. So I'll run it here. Webhook server web. Okay, I'll flush the pending ones first, and then so this is receiving. Okay, yeah, I think it's the queue on the server because it will generate the event and then it will push it to the queue so that it doesn't have any delay. So let's see. I'll save it here. I'll save it here, and let's see. We have fired story controller, story create listener, and webhook server. So this is done. In here, we had 2 requests, which will mean if I go inside my storage, oh, there are no logs, is it? That's strange. Handler. Ah, my bad. I think it's 7:44 and still I'm not quite off my sleep. So, okay, I haven't mentioned the class, so we'll need to do it all over again. Do I need to reboot the application? No. One more story by John. Another description. Hit save. We'll come over here. Now, come on. What is this? This is done. Everything is in place. Have I not reloaded my application after the env? I don't think so. Or is it not refreshing? Okay, let's make sure that the log file is generated actually. Okay, it is. So there's some problem. Let me see. We are filing the event. This is done. It is dispatched. So yes, this part is fine. Localhost URL 8001, webhook receiving URL. My application is running on 8001, so that's fine. We'll come over here. Webhook receiving URL. Is there anything wrong in that part? Route webhooks, right? That's something which I haven't made any mistake on. So, this is interesting. Okay, so I found out the error. It was in the end a very silly one. No, that's why I think we should not do a copy paste of code, or rather be very careful. So what has happened is, as you can see, this was HTTPS and I was running an HTTP URL. So it never made it to my application. So the change is here. Rest all the configurations were right. So this is my log file, and I'll go to my application. You can see I have made so many tries. I'll go here. One more story by John, some description, and hit save. And we get the log inside our second application, right? So what we can also do is maybe $data equals JSON, so decode this true, which will mean it's an array, and I'll get the payload. I think it was payload, right? So this is an object, ID, name, default, and payload, right? And in that we have story. So once we get that, $data story, and we are getting story because that's the key we have defined here, right? So let's try one more time. Implement webhook, some description. Okay, forget it. And now when we hit save, we get this entire thing, right? So I think this is really a very good starting point for any application, because you will otherwise need to do a lot of authentication and handling of things, which is being done here. So you can now really worry about your business logic and just not think about how the webhooks are going to be managed, because now this class is getting the data, so you can pretty much do whatever you want to. You can have a switch case, you can also have different kinds of webhook URLs for different kind of data. All right, so this is how the webhook server and the webhook client are being used to communicate between multiple applications. This is really nice package, and I hope you like it too. So if you like the video, do click on the thumbs up icon and don't forget to subscribe to my channel.